4 p.m. September 21st, 2022. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to make a special note to say thanks for the presence here of, I see Deputy Asaf, I see Deputy Chief Travlas, I see Ms. Ford from the Office of LSC Relations, so thank you for joining us tonight. Let's begin with roll call. Mr. Hall?
Nicholas Hall, teacher rep.
Cindy?
Cindy Watola, parent rep.
Robert?
Robert Agnew, community rep.
I don't think I see Ms. Brooks. Lori?
Lori Viets, parent rep.
Principal Gibson?
Principal Gibson.
I can't see if Ms. Brooks is with us.
I am Sharice
now.
Brooks, paraprofessional.
Thank you. And Ms. Emily Halbert? She texted that she was going to be a few minutes late. Okay, so we do have quorum tonight. Our next point is the approval of the agenda. Before we go into that, I would like to motion to amend the agenda to add a point under the principal report about enrollment. I want to note that if we vote to add this point, it's only for discussion purposes. We cannot vote on any matter regarding what's discussed about enrollment. So my motion is to add a subtopic about enrollment under the principal report. I do know that the principal report usually, or it does include information about enrollment, but I want to have like a further discussion about it. Again, we can't vote about anything we discuss if the motion passes. So my motion to be to amend the agenda to add that point under the principal report.
I'll second.
Okay, so now we vote. Cindy?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Principal Gibson?
Yes.
And Ms. Holbert is not here yet. Okay. So the motion passes. We're going to add the enrollment specific point under principal report. I would also like to move a motion to amend the agenda to add a point before public participation to discuss public participation and the addition of like the second slot of public participation. Even though this is not something that we have to vote on, and we can't vote on anyways, because this is only for discussion purposes, but I want to make it clear that we don't have to vote about adding the second part slot for public participation that you see on the agenda. But I do want to open it up for discussion again, formally. So it's for the record of our council about talking about adding that second slot of public participation in our agendas from now on. So my motion would be to amend the agenda to add a discussion about adding an additional public participation slot to our agendas. Anyone second the motion?
I'll second.
I'll second it.
So now we vote. Cindy?
So,
Yes.
Sorry, and I think Ms. Ford just reminded us,
Yes,
after
Ms.
the
Ford.
seconded, we do have to, that's when we can discuss it between the seconding the motion and the voting of it. And I think that's what just
Right.
appeared in the chat.
Yeah,
Correct.
about the motion.
Right, to
Yeah.
discuss the motion on the floor.
I guess I'm confused because the second part of the second public participation is already on the agenda. So
Mhm.
why are we having to amend it to add it in, is my question.
It's an amendment. The amendment is to the effects of discussing why it was added as a second slot to the agenda. To clarify, even though it was like informed to all the council members, I want it to be for the record and to open up the discussion about, again, because we've discussed this before, to open up the discussion about why there's a second slot for public participation in the agenda. Anyone else for a discussion about the motion?
I love having multiple spaces for discussion and public participation. Public participation is like my favorite part of LSC meetings. So, yay.
Thank you, Lori.
And if people don't have to stay through the whole thing, it's awesome. But you're welcome.
Anyone else? Yes, Principal Gibson?
Can you clarify how public participation will be used? Can you go over it publicly? For the sign-up process for the two and the reasoning?
Of course, but it's good that Ms. Ford is here because maybe she can clarify this. If we discuss it now, then we will vote on if we'll discuss about this or not. So if we discuss it now with the motion, technically we wouldn't need to motion to add
Right,
the
so-
discussion.
Right, correct. Thanks for allowing me to speak, Chair. So this is just discussion on the motion. That's it. What the motion is on the floor is simply to add that as a discussion topic to the agenda. That's it. So the ins and outs of how you want to have that question answered will be part of that discussion if this motion gets approved by the body to discuss it.
So anyone else?
You can call for the vote on this motion because it doesn't appear to be.
Yeah. Thank you. So we vote Cindy,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
No.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Robert,
No.
Principal Gibson,
Yes.
Ms. Hulbert,
So sorry. Can you just give me a quick synopsis of what we're voting on?
this is a motion to amend the agenda to add a point of discussion before the public participation to discuss why there's a second slot for public participation in the agenda.
No.
So Cindy, can you give me the? We can't hear you, Cindy.
Did you vote?
No, I didn't vote. Yes, my vote is yes. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we have 5 yeses and 3 nos.
Okay, so the motion passes to amend the agenda to add a point of discussion before the public participations, the first. Yes, Ms. Ford?
How many serving members do you have?
As of today, we have 8. So it has to be 4 + 1.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So the vote passes with 5 yeses, 3 nos to amend the agenda to add a point of discussion before the public participations, the first opportunity to discuss why there's a second public participation slot in our agenda. Having said that, now we have to approve the agenda as amended. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I move to approve the agenda as it's amended.
I second.
And we vote Cindy,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Ms. Hulbert,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Principal Gibson,
Yes.
and it's a yes for me too. So the agenda is approved. Our next point is the approval of previous meetings minutes. All council members received a series of minutes from the previous council and from the current council that have not yet been approved. Did you all have the opportunity to revise them? Is there any discussion about them?
Can I have a discussion about minutes going forward, or is that later?
We can talk about that for the purpose of like clarity and transparency. We can talk about that later. We can also add it as a point for our next meeting. Is there any motion to approve the minutes received?
I motion to approve the minutes we received.
I second the motion.
Now we vote. Mr. Hall?
Is there any discussion first? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Is there any discussion about the minutes that are going to be approved, that we're proposing to approve? Yes, Principal Gibson?
There's some amendments that need to be made, the July 13th.
Okay. July 13th? I'm sorry.
Minutes, it said it should reflect that there were 2 parent vacancies, 1 community rep and 1 student rep at that time. And also the date of the LSC meeting was July 13th for the organizational meeting at the time. I believe it says July 7th or something.
Okay. Cindy, you have any other proposed amendment to the minutes? Yes, Mr. Hall?
So I'm looking at the minutes and the date is July 13th and the vacancies are mentioned in bullet point 12. It talks about the 2 parent vacancies, the 1 community and the student representative. So they're on my copy of the minutes that I received.
Trying to open this. Principal Gibson, are you able to see the July 13th date and the correct number of like reps vacancies?
Yes, I guess this one is updated from the one we previously had.
Okay, so Cindy, can you please put that we clarified that Principal Gibson does have like the the correct minutes that we all received. Thank you. Any other point of discussion about the minutes? Okay, so let's vote. Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Principal Gibson?
I'm abstaining.
And it's a yes for me. So the minutes are approved. Our next point is the candidate forum or candidate statements. First of all, I would like to, on behalf of all of us, say thank you to all those students and parents that applied for this. This, as I said on my brief note on that email, this is only just like, it demonstrates that your commitment to our school. More so like our students. I love that 4 students applied to get the student position because that is a testament of your commitment and your desire to help your school. So thank you on behalf of all of us, all the council members. Same goes to the parents that applied to become part of our council, this is a very gratifying position, role. It's a lot of work, but it's also something that we all have the same vision of moving our school forward and doing what's best for our kids, our staff, our community, everyone. So thank you again on behalf of all our council members and from mine. How we're going to do this is I want to clarify something. This is the first time that elementary schools are doing the student reps on representatives on the councils. The process to vote for the student representatives is different from that of filling the vacancies of parent or community reps. Students vote for students, and there's a poll conducted in the school, and that happened today. There's also a process that has to happen after the votes are counted. It's determined who got the most votes by their peers. The candidate then has to be submitted to the Board of Education, who then will certify that this is the student that was elected as student representative for our local school council on our school. So that's the process regarding students. However, they had the opportunity today, that happened today, the voting, and they had the opportunity to address their fellow classmates and schoolmates. They did go to all the classrooms to talk, and this is pre-K through 8th grade. So you can imagine that was my kids are very wow, this was cool. So that happened today, and they had the opportunity to address their peers. However, as I said, this shows their commitment, and we want to get students involved with our local school council. So that's why we remain at the spot for them to say their statement or just present themselves in this meeting was kept that way, because they deserve to also address all of us, because we are going to be working together. So that's why we kept the students rep, even though their process is different, and it happened today. We want all of you to get to know them, because we're going to be working together, all 4 of them, as partners in all of this. So having said that, we have 4 candidates who submitted for student representative in our council. As you know, it's 1 student that gets elected. That would be formally notified by the board after all the process happens. The principal will then notify and do the whole process. There's 3 vacancies for parent representative right now. We got 4 parents interested and that submitted complete applications. So we'll be hearing first from the students, and then we'll be hearing from the 4 parents that applied for the parent representative positions. Having said that, we're going to start with the candidate forum, and I see in no particular order, just how I see them on my screen. We can start with Jatalia Brown, which is one of the students that submitted the application.
Hi, my name is Jatalia Brown, and I am an 8th grader at Tubman.
So Jatalia, and all of you students, what can happen here is you could read your statement, or you can briefly talk to us about why you wanted to join the local school council as a student representative.
I wanted to join the council to help change our school for the better.
Thank you so much, Jatalia. So I see Brooklyn.
Hi, I'm Brooklyn Rogers. I became interested in the LSC student rep position, not only to communicate opinions of other students in school, but to also positively affect our school's learning environment. I felt as though everybody in our school should have a voice, and that being a school's our student body's representative would be an important role and would be something that helps build my character and help our school community. So.
Thank you so much, Brooklyn. Avery Meredith.
Hello, my name is Avery Meredith. I'm in 6th grade here at Tubman Elementary School, and why I wanted to join the LSC was because I remember when I was younger, not a lot of students, including myself, had really a voice or someone that would listen to us at school. And I feel like for the little kids, it would be a great chance to actually make a change, even if it's through another person.
Thank you, Avery. And our fourth candidate was May McGannon.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm May McGannon. I'm an 8th grader here at Tubman. I've been going to the school for 11 years, so since preschool, back when Miss Katie was a teacher. And I think student representation is really important in the LSC. I think not only should teachers, parents, and community members be able to make decisions about our school, but also the kids that attend the school every weekday. I also think that this representative spot is needed because students are the people facing these problems firsthand. I feel that we could input our personal experiences into the LSC and hopefully create good things out of them. I think I would be a good student rep because I feel strongly about the voices at our school. And I've been through all of the grades, all of the classrooms, and I have experience with most of the teachers. Basically, I've been where these kids have been, and I know what it feels like to see something, try to say something, and not being heard by my community. But now that I've entered middle school, I feel like I've really gotten that opportunity. And I would say I'm pretty comfortable talking to parents and administration, advocating for the students' needs, not only in our class, but the whole school. And I look forward to hopefully working with you guys. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you, May. Those are our 4 applicants for the student representative. I invite you to stay in the meeting if you want to keep joining us, but we know you have like responsibilities as students. But you're more than welcome to stay. At this moment, we're going to hear from the 4 parents who submitted applications to fill the 3 vacancies we have for parent representative. So in no particular order, we're going to start with the first person I see here is, oh my God, I can't see anyone. Sarah Ogeto.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure and honor to be in your presence, and what excitement I have for listening to our student candidates. It's great that we can have that voice here in these types of meetings. So I am seeking to be elected as parent rep here at Tubman. For me, I believe in what's possible, and this means that each and every child at Harriet Tubman Elementary has the access and opportunity to grow, learn, and thrive. As a former LSC rep, the guardian of a kindergartner, and the parent of a middle schooler currently at Tubman, I truly have made a commitment to supporting all students and the school's overall success. If elected as the parent rep to the LSC, I will remain committed to representing all the voices that will work of families and to work in partnership with teachers and school staff, as well as admin and community stakeholders, and seeing that the school meet critical benchmarks as outlined in our school improvement plan. And I'll work closely with the school community to build trust and relationships, which I know are essential to strengthening our school's overall school culture and climate, making sure that folks feel safe and supported. I'll bring my experience of service and leadership to the school. I've served on the LSC before at Tubman and at my child's former preschool at Ray Elementary on the South Side. Professionally, I've dedicated my career in helping schools and learning communities center supports around children. I used to work at the Illinois State Board of Education, and I see a former colleague here, and helped to co-author the ISBE Family Engagement Framework, which really does serve as a tool for schools and building that critical family, school, and community partnership, focusing around what we know those critical supports, meeting outcomes for kids. Currently, I work with educators and early learning providers in strengthening their capacity and a network of support to mitigate issues around turnover and to improve engagement practices in the classroom and beyond. Harriet Tubman is a unique and special school. The school's diversity, committed families, educators, and community stakeholders. The fact that it's an IB school focused on the arts, ability to serve diverse learners truly makes Tubman a school like no other in the city of Chicago. If elected, it would be my honor and duty to maintain, highlight, and strengthen the possibilities that make Harriet Tubman the best school for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I see Cynthia Chernoff.
Sorry, setting, okay. I have to switch so I can read my statement here. Hello, my name is Cynthia Chernoff. I'd like you to tell you about my background, including how my family came to Tubman, how I've been involved in the school community, and what I can bring to the LSC. Professionally, I worked for 15 years in publishing. This project management and editorial work involved creating systems for workflow and tracking, as well as clearly communicating complex tasks and processes, which are all skills that would be valuable to the LSC. 10 years into my career, I changed tracks and pursued a library science master's, which I eventually finished exactly when my son turned 1. Campbell is now in the 6th grade. He's a diverse learner, and this is his 2nd year at Tubman, his 3rd school. When we decided that Campbell, who's autistic, was ready for a more traditional school environment, we were drawn to Tubman because of its dedication to inclusive education, its welcoming and accepting community, and its reputation for excellent teaching and support staff, and fair and equitable servicing of students' IEPs. Last year, I jumped at the opportunity to work with the LSC's Equity Committee on its goal of making Tubman's library more inclusive, equitable, and accessible. I began working with Mr. Laughlin in February. By the end of April, we had reorganized the space to make it more user-friendly and set up the first of our planned displays, celebrating different aspects of our communities. We started with May's Asian American Pacific Islander display, and in June we celebrated Pride. This week we unveiled Hispanic Heritage Month and our Banned Books Week displays. This work also reveals the deficits in the library's collection. As we prepare each theme, Mr. Laughlin and I learn exactly what kinds of books are needed to make our library what it should be, both a mirror and a window where all our students can see themselves. Working in the library and meeting teachers and staff made me want to get even more involved. When I began regularly attending LSC meetings last May, I realized that I wanted to participate in a more active manner than simply making the occasional 3-minute public comment. With my previous professional experience, my recent work in the library, and my ongoing advocacy for diverse learners, I believe I could make a valuable contribution to Tubman's LSC. In this particular moment, our community faces exceptional challenges. We all agree that transparency, communication, and accountability are crucial to the safety of our children, the well-being of our staff and administration, and the future of our school. I believe I can help this LSC respectfully and fairly, and with as much transparency as possible, lead our school through a bumpy period and onto steady ground. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm trying to, there we go.
Thank you, Cynthia. I see Etta Richardson.
Hi. So my name is Etta Richardson. I'm a preschool parent. My son has attended preschool also last year too, so he did half-day preschool. I am running to be elected for parent rep because I am super involved in my son's education and really want the best future for him and also the students around him. Last year, even though he was a part-time student, we started by participating in the fun run, raising the most amount of money for pre-K. We also participated in many of the fundraising events that were provided for the school. And while I was super excited about all of those things and being able to help assist and do things like that, to be able to, so now our students didn't have to have supplies this year, a lot of the things that we can do, I feel like personally, I can bring the money, great. But now I want to be able to bring my voice so that I can speak up for not only my student, but the rest of the students as well, as I would really like for my son to have a nice, long school career at Tubman, as the environment for me has been pretty good for him. But as he starts to get a little bit older, being able to be more involved as far as the decision making and where the course of the school is going is very important for me. I majored in law enforcement and justice administration with a minor in nonprofit administration. Even though I did that, most of what I wanted to do was really to help people. So I spent a lot of my career after college working with students grades 6 through 12. Following that, I also worked with students by providing ABA therapy to students on the spectrum between the ages of 3 and 12. So I have a lot of experience with kids of all ages. In addition to that, with my sorority, I was on the advisory board for 4 years, alumni relations, career and personal development, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I think that those are a lot of things that I could bring also to LSC that would be very helpful. I also believe that there has been a lack of everyone's voices feeling like it's being heard. And I think that adding more parents and more people that are willing to be involved and assist will really help to bringing our community together. I think that while we've had some humps, I think that if we catch up right now, we can move forward in a good direction. And I look forward to giving all of my experience as well as just being a caring parent and help everyone. I also have a lot of available time, so I'm able to really be involved. So it's not that, sometimes parents want to be involved, but they can't. I'm fully committed to my son's education and fully committed to giving whatever it takes to make sure that he's succeeding, because at the end of the day, that is literally all that matters to me, is that the kids are successful, because that's really why we're all here. I mean, at the end of the day, some people are teachers, some people, are invested for financial reasons because they're a teacher, but a lot of times we go into this role as a parent, as a teacher, as a principal, to help the students. And I'm fully committed to doing whatever it takes to get us to that point.
Thank you, Etta. And then we have
My
Michael. Thank you. We have Michael Weinstock.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Weinstock. I'm a new parent to Tubman. Zoe is in kindergarten, but my wife and I have 3 children in total. So our older 2 currently attend Lincoln Park High School. They went to Alcott K through 8 and since moved on to high school. But during that time, we had experience with the IEP process, so I'm familiar with that and the various challenges that parents face going through that process. So that's something I bring. But my main goal with joining LSC is really turning ideas into actions. I feel like I'm a very open-minded and open to listen person, and I want to be able to take ideas that I've heard from so many caring and thoughtful and involved parents that I've already met and figure out how to make this school the best it can be. Because sort of like Etta said, this is really about our kids' educational, social, and emotional experiences. And I want to help make sure that we as a community can maximize that. So I really want to help form and maneuver the building blocks of these ideas and break them down, form teams, and really do the work that's needed. I've got the time to do the work, and I'm very interested in collaborating to incorporate ideas that I've heard from others and make things happen. And that can range from ideas about fundraising and working with Friends of Tubman on fundraisers to make sure the school is viewed in a positive light through that process, working on enrollment through outreach and discussing that with the various stakeholders on LSC and putting together a plan for how to outreach and increase enrollment through time. And there's a lot of other things. I think after the pandemic, we're kind of a blank slate in some ways. And I'm very interested in taking ideas and implementing them so that we can maximize those experiences. In terms of my background, I come from a quantitative background in finance and technology. So I'm very interested in applying that mindset to the LSC in terms of when that comes time for evaluations, understanding how to turn things that are otherwise fairly soft to think about into something that's quantifiable and can be understood in that way. I also want to apply that mindset to understand the effectiveness of how funds are being used in terms of budgeting and also in terms of how effective various actions are. So I'm very excited to be considered as part of the LSC, and I hope to bring positive influences to both the school and the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. I want to again thank all 4 parents that submitted applications to fill our 3 vacancies. What's going to happen now is that the council is we're going to vote to go into a closed session to discuss the statements and the candidates, and we will be back for an open session to then vote and do the proceedings for electing our new parent representatives. So I am going to motion to go into closed session to discuss the applicants for parent representative. Before I motion that, I actually want to motion to ask Ms. Ford from LSC Relations to join us in the closed session. I want to ask first Ms. Ford if she's available to join us in that closed session.
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
Thank you. So I motion to include Ms. Ford from LSC Relations in our closed session to discuss the parent representative applicants for LSC.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion about this? Let's vote. Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Principal Gibson?
Yes.
And it's a yes from me. So the motion passes to include Ms. Ford from LSC Relations in our closed session. Now I motion to go into a closed session to discuss the parent applicants for vacancies.
I second.
Any discussion about this? So we vote. Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Principal Gibson?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Hall will be posting the link to the closed session meeting. All of the members of the council members and Ms. Ford have to exit this current meeting. We're going to join that one. It's closed. It's controlled by the entrance to the meeting is controlled. So we'll go into a closed session to discuss this, and we'll be back to the open session in a bit. So thank you for all of those that have joined us and want to stay to continue for our meeting. Thank you all for waiting and being so patient while we were holding that closed session discussing about the candidates. Principal Gibson, I see you have your hand raised.
I was ready to make a motion.
Do we have all council members? Robert, Mr. Hall, Miss Lori. We have Miss Holbert back. I don't see her.
She said she had to grab her charger, so she'll be
Yeah.
here in a sec. I'm going to try to make my lighting better.
Give her one more minute so we can continue. Just in case, Mr. Hall, can you please email her the link to this meeting, just in case there was like a confusion about with the other link and she doesn't find it?
Sure.
Thank you. So again, I want to thank everyone for your patience. We're waiting for our council members so we can continue with the process of the selection of the parent representatives for the 3 vacancies we have in our council after the discussion we had as a council.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So now we have all our current council members here. Now, as I said, we're going to vote on the vacancies. I'm going to move a motion to elect Michael Weinstock as a member of our council. Yes, Principal Gibson?
I was just making sure I was recognized because I had my hand up when we first started, and you said we were going to wait on a council member, and I was waiting to make a motion.
Oh yeah, sorry. Since you put your hand down, I thought you had changed your mind. Okay, so you can, Principal Gibson.
I motion that we elect Etta Richardson as one of our parent representatives to the LSC.
Anyone second the motion? So the motion doesn't pass. I move a motion to elect Mr. Michael Weinstock as a parent representative in our current LSC. Does anyone second?
I second the motion. I second the motion.
Any discussion about the motion? So we vote. Lori?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes. Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Principal Gibson?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. So thank you very much, Michael, and welcome to our local school council at Harriet Tubman Elementary.
Great. Thanks so much.
Mr. Hall,
I motion to elect Sarah Oghetto as a parent representative on the Tubman LSC.
I second that
I
motion.
second. Any discussion about the motion? So we vote. Lori,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Ms. Hulbert,
Yes.
Principal Gibson,
No.
and it's a yes for me too. So with the majority of the votes, we want to also welcome Sarah Oghetto to our local school council. Thank you, Sarah, for your commitment.
Thank you for your votes, and it's an honor to serve. Thank you.
I want to move a motion to have Cynthia Chernoff join us in our LSC with the last vacancy we have of parent representative.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? So we vote. Ms. Hulbert,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Cindy, you're muted. Okay, Robert, we'll come back to you, Cindy. Robert,
Yeah. Yes.
Principal Gibson,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Cindy, Cindy, are you having issues with your microphone? Ms. Ford, is it okay if Cindy puts her vote in the chat or does a hand gesture or something for the purpose of the meeting because she's having problems to...
Do you guys have a dial-in number?
We do, right, Mr. Hall? We have a dial-in.
Can I just FaceTime her and then put her up to the screen on my phone?
That works. She just needs
Yes.
to be heard. That works.
Oh, I can't FaceTime. Are you not on FaceTime? I can't FaceTime you because you don't have, what is that phone? Why can't I FaceTime you?
Mr. Hall, is
Okay,
there
I have
a
Cindy. I have-
conference?
Okay. Yes.
Do you have a, oh, there she is.
Yes.
Thank you, Cindy. So with the majority of the votes, we would also like to welcome Cynthia Chernoff as one of our parent representatives in our local school council. Having said that, we want as a council to thank Ms. Richardson for applying, and we want you to work with us. So we will be reaching out to you because as our bylaws state, we have committees that don't require LSC members to be part of, and we really want you to be part of those committees if you're interested, but we would love to work with you too. So we thank you for applying, for your interest, and we are looking forward to having you in as part of our council in one of our committees.
Thank you so much, and please believe me, you'll be hearing from me.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
We can't hear you.
The next point on our agenda would be the discussion about the second slot of public participation as the agenda was amended. The purpose of adding this second slot for public participation, it's not an additional one. It's more for time, for the sake of time management in their meeting. If or when we get a large number of public participants or people interested in public participation, for example, if we get 10 people that sign up, we would divide it in 5 and 5, just for the sake of the flow of the meeting. It's only one sign up. It's not going to be a separate sign up for that second slot. It's just to divide it so that all the topics discussed in public participation, we can work through them. If they require or an answer or any feedback or any comment from the principal, she has like more time to do so. So it's not an opportunity to sign up after the fact. You have to sign up as usual before the meeting. It's just that if there was the case that a lot of people wanted to participate, we would divide it so the time management of the meeting would go easier for everyone. So that is the reason why you see in our agenda that there are 2. Again, I want to reiterate that we don't have to vote about this, but I do want to open up the discussion as a council, and I wanted to explain again why this is this way and it's going to be that way from now on in our agenda. Sometimes we might not need to use that second opportunity, and that's fine, but it's better for it to be there when we need it than not have it and then make a public participation segment that is too long. We lose parents that are joining us, etc. So that is the purpose of dividing the public participation. Again, it's only one sign up and it has to be done before the meeting, just like it has always been. Any discussion about this? Okay, perfect. So now we move to our public participation. I would ask Robert, our Sergeant at Arms, to read our guidelines for public participation.
Sure thing. And just one point of clarification. We've got 9 folks signed up today, so you would want me just to go in order for 5 now, 4 later. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So members of the public are welcome to make comments and ask questions, but must sign in to participate. The public is called upon to speak in the order they sign in. The public is kindly requested to limit their comments and questions to 3 minutes. Based on the comments or questions, the principal may address some concerns directly and, if necessary, create an action step for the LSC to follow up with the involved parties at a future date. While the LSC will do its best to address any comments or questions, when necessary, more time may be needed to adequately address a particular concern. So going on the order of sign up, the first individual today is Ms. Charlotte Thoresian, or Thorson. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Would love to know the correct pronunciation there.
Of course, it's Torreson, actually.
Wow, I butchered that significantly. All right, thank you, Ms. Torreson.
You're not the first. Thank you all so much for doing the hard work to better our school. My family and I are grateful for your commitment. I signed up tonight to give voice to my strong concerns around areas of enrollment and recruitment, having volunteered countless hours towards these efforts. Since the last school year, it seems that Tubman's enrollment has dropped by about 20%, which far outpaces CPS as a whole. With budget dollars connected to students, this means we will continue to see classrooms closing, staff loss, and likely additional families making a choice to leave. As a result, current enrollment and recruitment are 2 issues that require immediate extreme intervention, and I'm calling on the administration, with help from the LSC, network leaders, staff, families, anyone and everyone, to come together to both stem the loss of students and bring new students into our community. I feel disappointed and concerned that I'm not feeling a fire around building a large integrated strategy to solve this. With regards to enrollment, I'm curious about the assessment. Are you surprised with where Tubman landed? What are the key learnings that admin is thinking about and acting on? Have any attempts been made to connect with departing families to garner learnings that can be used? What is the larger strategy for connecting with current families to ensure that they feel good about their choice in Tubman? The more connected families feel to the community, the stronger their investment will be in the school. Perhaps a whole full calendar of school events can be made for the year, with inquiry fairs, assemblies, dance shows, open houses, info sessions laid out for the entire year, giving families time to plan. Recruitment is something, like many others, I spent a lot of time and effort on last year through the summer and continue to work on. My personal assessment is that we got badly beat. Other schools did what we attempted, but they did it earlier, harder, more personalized, more thoroughly, overall just better. After hearing very little this school year, I met with Principal Gibson earlier this week to share my thoughts around an updated recruitment plan, but we need more. Strong leadership, an airtight, detailed plan, a large, dedicated group working on recruitment every single day, or we will see similar results again next year. So much must change and must change now. So in closing, I ask who's accountable for fixing these issues? What's the timeline and what is the plan? I remain incredibly committed to continuing to work and be part of the solution to this. Thank you again for your leadership and work for all of us.
Thank you. If it's okay, I'll move on to the next individual. Thank you. Moving on to Miss Julia Copeland.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Julia Copeland, I have a pre-K, and actually we were a family that left the school for our second grader, and so I would be happy to offer my insight for why we left for that. But moving on to my topic, we all received a communication from the LSC member or from Ileana on September 9th with a letter from Pedro Martinez, which was at best vague, asking that the former LSC commenced dismissal proceedings against Ms. Gibson. The allegations raised by you are very serious. And then it went on to say that I've asked the Office of Network Support to take a series of interim remedial steps and to put supportive resources in place to help improve the culture and climate at the school, and so on. I think we're all familiar with that letter. My question is, why so vague? What were the serious allegations? If there are safety allegations at our school, aren't we as parents entitled to know what these safety allegations are? Because if there is a safety issue, we should be informed and make the decisions that we feel are right for our family. Secondly, and follow-up, what are these remedial steps that are being taken? Why are they being taken? And what are the details of what's going on at the school? I personally have a pre-K student in the school. I get no information from her, unsurprisingly, about this. But as a parent, I have serious concerns. And I don't know how this forum works, but it seems like people voice concerns, ask questions, and then nothing gets answered. So when is the timeline that we will know more? And will there be a response right after my question? Thank you.
Moving on to the next public comment, Molly Conway.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the LFC, for the opportunity to participate in public comment tonight. Today is World Gratitude Day, so in honor of this, I would like to start by taking some time to thank the past and present members of our LSC for volunteering their time in overseeing of our school's budget, academic plans, and principal practices. Thank you to the students tonight who put themselves forward to participate in this democratic process, for using your voices this evening, and for reminding us all why we are here. Thank you to the Tubman staff, many of whom are new this year. We appreciate your dedication and support of our students. Thank you to our support staff, the clerks, the lunch staff, the engineers and custodians who keep our school operational and clean on a daily basis. Thank you to AP Moore, whose IB experience and steady leadership has been so helpful and a welcome resource to our Tubman community. Thank you to Principal Gibson. You've indicated at the end of last year that you would be thoughtfully reflecting over the summer on what changes can be made to help improve our communication and culture. I look forward to hearing you on what specific changes you have been implementing for this year in order to help. And finally, thank you to the families who have stayed. I recognize that Chicago Public Schools has designed a system that offers families a choice. And to be transparent, it has been very hard to say goodbye to so many families who have chosen to move their students to other schools because they no longer believe that Tubman is the best place for their family. I understand their choices, but I just want to say I so appreciate all of the caregivers and families who still recognize the good that we have in our school and all of the potential, and who have chosen to stay and who are committed to continuing to help support our Tubman community as we all move forward. My questions tonight are as follows. As Ms. Copeland just said, CPS CEO Pedro Martinez has written to the Tubman community and has requested the Office of Network Support to take a series of interim remedial steps to put supportive resources in place. My question is, Can you, Principal Gibson, please provide a list to the LSC and Tubman community to the specific supports that this Office of Network Support has implemented? Have you as principal made any direct requests to this office to help improve school culture, safety, and community? Have they been granted? Has the staff been surveyed to see what kind of supports they would like to request to be implemented? If so, were those requests made? Can a caregiver survey be distributed to see what sort of supports the caregiver community would like to request and implement? I think that we need a lot more transparency as it relates to this information from CPS. In addition, I've noticed that the weekly Bulldog IB blast has not been sent since August and would like to request that this be re-implemented on a weekly basis to help improve school communication and connection. For example, there's a parent meet and greet on the Tubman website that's scheduled for this Friday during a day off of school, but no formal communication has been received by the parent community to be able to make plans for attendance. It would be also wonderful to hear for this PD on Friday what it is about and how it will help our school community and students. Finally, as a last bit, I'm here to ask that we infuse as much joy into our Tubman community as possible. I am not asking us to turn away from the hard discussions that are needed, but rather recognize that there are also moments of levity and joy that are so important that in fact can strengthen our ability to connect and find common ground. There have been so many heavy moments for our school community during these past years, and the more opportunities where teachers, caregivers, students can connect together through joy, through participation, the deeper our connections will be and the better off our school community will be. So I'm hoping that we can count on class parties, field trip, dance shows, inquiry fairs, art co-op, mystery readers, a school play, and many other moments for our community to come together and share in our students' experiences. Thank you. And as a final nod to joy, I want to remind everyone that there is a fabulous song created specifically for this day. So as we log off of this call later, please be sure to crank up the Earth, Wind, and Fire. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana Carmen. Sorry, that was you, Miss Conway, correct?
Yes.
Yes, the next person we have speaking, thank you, I'm alternating between two screens here. The next person that we have speaking is Dana Carmen. If it's okay, I see her in the list. If it's okay, I'll just move forward to the next individual. We can come back to that one later. The next individual that's listed is Patty Linkoff.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay? Okay, great.
Yes.
There's sometimes some issues with this. I actually didn't really prepare anything written to say. I kind of agree with Julia. I think that was probably frustrating for that parent to not get a response right away, or I mean, I hope that there will be a response at the end of this public participation so that there can be some answers. Some of us are a little bit newer to this that are on the call, and I'm sure they would love answers to those questions. I am also very, very concerned about enrollment, very sad about all the families that have left and that are continuing to leave. We just lost a very valuable member of our FOT board this week who is moving to another school. And I'm very disheartened about it. And so I wondered from the council, or if Principal Gibson could answer, could any staff lose positions this year? Is that still something that could happen because of the low enrollment? I know our kindergarten classrooms are extremely low. I think 9 in one room, 11 in the other. So I'm just concerned about our staff. I wanted to know if that's something that could be affected. Also with Julia's question, I just wondered if the council had any further information from our CPS leaders on where these investigations are going. When do we think we will have a final answer? I think a lot of parents are asking about this. They don't know how to proceed really in the building with what is going on. So, and lastly, really, I wanted to just find out, I take this time now to ask about the math curriculum, the Envision program, just wanting to know what that curriculum actually cost our school. I know the Cubs Charities donated the $25,000 last year, and I know it was going towards that. I wondered if that included staff PD for it. I'm hearing a little bit of mixed reviews from various sources that staff haven't been adequately trained on it. So I just wanted to know what was happening with that, since that is one of our major donors, and they donated for this. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to go back to Miss Dana Carmen. I believe that you said you were driving, so we should be able to get you in here.
Hi, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have it muted in two places just in case while I'm driving. And so I unmuted one place but not the other. Thanks so much for creating two opportunities to allow for more public participation. That's great. I would just also like to ask if we could add that maybe if there are people that still want to sign up, they can put in the chat that they would like to speak, just to make it as transparent as possible for all speakers. I also am like Patty, because I'm driving, 1,000 kids to 1,000 things tonight. I didn't have anything fully prepared, but I echo all the concerns that have been mentioned by the previous speakers. I've been at Tubman for 10 years. I've never seen classes this small. It's really disheartening. I am also a family who has 2 children at another CPS school for various reasons that I'd be happy to discuss another time. But I would also just like to say, because I know that, and I appreciate that the network chiefs have joined us this evening, that it is really hard to be a Tubman parent right now. It feels like we've been abandoned. It feels like the network, like the district, is not putting any effort or resources into us. It doesn't feel like this remedial support that has been mentioned multiple times is being offered or given or guided. We were an ISP school, meaning that our principal was accountable to no one before Principal Gibson became our principal. And so we were new to the network, and it never has felt like anyone has been helping guide us, support our staff, and be there for our community. And I would just like to ask, what specific supports are being given? What is this remedial support? Why are we not seeing people more often on a daily basis inside our hallways and our schools, looking at our processes and protocols, helping our school community thrive like it once did? It feels a lot like maybe CPS has just stopped caring about Tubman. And I would just ask that CPS start caring again. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was the 5th comment for this section of time.
Principal Gibson, you may address the 5 participants in this slot, if you wish to do so.
Thank you for your feedback. Some of your questions or your concerns will be shared in the principal report.
Having concluded the first part of our agenda, yes, Michael?
Comment to public comments or no?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
Are LSC members allowed to make comments on the public comments also, or is it just the principal?
It is advised that the principal, as the administrator of the school, is the one to provide answers at this moment. I don't know if Ms. Ford wants to elaborate on this.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Michael, what question? You're muted.
I was just wondering if I'm allowed to follow up with a comment or not, or if that's not in the interest of doing that right now.
It's my understanding you all have some protocols of how you handle public comment.
Michael is now an official part of the council. So I think his question is more like if us as a council can address some of the questions that were asked.
And so that's the question I have for you all. You all used to have meeting norms that spoke to after public comment, you would take it under advisement, but not necessarily respond. I don't know what those new meeting norms are. Have they changed? And if so, we probably want to share with your new members how you all handle public comment.
I'm just going to jump.
You're muted.
I hit it again. Sorry. I've always felt comfortable addressing, and I feel like as parent representatives, that should be part of our job. So always, and I feel we all know that the energy is very different in our LSC meetings than they were in the past. So I personally would like to continue with being able to comment to public participation as an elected representative.
Mr. Hall?
I was going to suggest, just for time's sake tonight, and because Principal Gibson has informed us that many of the answers to these questions will be in the next agenda item, if we want to keep on going, and then I would say if certain questions were not answered, then we have the second public participation where LSC members could comment if things haven't been answered, but I'm going to suggest we move on just for tonight.
Thanks.
So the next point of the agenda is the principal report.
Ms. Moore, can you start at the top, please? Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. If you guys could give us a couple minutes.
Principal Gibson, is there another way to maybe close and upload it again? So
I just called Ms. Moore and asked her because she logged out. I'm still at the school and I'm having some issues here.
Okay. Maybe, do you have those slides printed in front of you? Because maybe for the sake of time, you could start reading them and presenting them, and then when it's able to upload, we can see them.
I'll try to print them out.
Principal Gibson, in the interest of time, would it be helpful to email like me or Mr. Hall and I could present them for you?
Okay, I'm sorry, her computer crashed. I will try to read what I was able to print off.
Principal Gibson, I don't know if you had the chance to hear Ms. Holbert. She offered either if you could like email her or Mr. Hall the presentation and they can present for you.
Sure. Thank you. I just shared it with you, Mr. Hall. As we're waiting, I want to start by sharing our school-wide theme, which is Better Together. We are committed to moving Tubman forward. So I'll start by reading our school's mission. Our promise is to provide a nurturing and rigorous learning environment. We will instill within our students a love of learning by identifying their positive distinctions through academics, the arts, and athletics. We empower students to be responsible, contributing members of an international community. Our vision. As a result, Tubman students strive to be lifelong learners who are persistent problem solvers, are inquisitive about the world, have a strong sense of self, and articulate their thoughts and feelings and ideas through ongoing reflection. Tubman students strive to be empathetic by understanding different perspectives while being mindful of their unique viewpoint. Tubman students strive to be caring and principled and to possess a foundation of knowledge that enables them to build a more peaceful world. Today as a school, we celebrated World Peace. Tubman's school-wide theme this year is Better Together. We're reimagining what Tubman can be with the support of all of you guys to make Tubman stronger and a model school for all. Tubman priorities this year is increasing better communication, increasing enrollment, building relationships, and strengthening the instructional core. CPS as a district is concentrating on strengthening the instructional core. And I would like to share some of the supports that ONS and our network have put in place. As of today, one of the things is we had a retired principal, Principal Carrie, who joined the Tubman community. She was taken around to every classroom, introduced to all of the students and the staff today. She will be supporting us in moving the school forward and building on the traditions that already exist here at Tubman. She wanted to wait till tomorrow to write a communication that will be going out in a community blast tomorrow. We also, all administration received a diversity, equity, and inclusion coach, Dr. Markenia Williams. That coaching started this week. Other ongoing supports to help us move forward together. We have support from our network chief, Chief Asaf, our deputy chief, Chief Travalos, and we will have 2 instructional support leaders, Merrick Van Ellis and Carlos Borges, supporting our schools. These are just some of the supports that's in place. Supports that I have also requested in addition to this is support from the Office of Equity, OSCL, and just this week, the network supported us in having ongoing SEL for the adults here at the school through mindfulness, and there will be more information forthcoming on professional development that's going to focus on team building, building relationships, and helping us all have a sense of belonging. We are trying to create a Tubman where administration, staff, students, and families all feel safe, respected, and valued. And with the support of us working together as a team, I know that we can move this school forward. Principal competencies. Competencies A, champion teacher and staff excellence through continuous improvement to develop and achieve the vision of high expectations for all students. During week 0 PD, we had several professional developments. There's an agenda that I shared. This deck will be shared with the council later. Our grade level team meetings concentrated on having strong systems and support starting at the beginning of the school year, including IB training for our teachers. ILT. Our ILT team met over the summer and we went through district training. We also have training this week on our scheduled PD day, as well as there was a question about staff professional development that was in public participation. Teachers will be trained on Envision training. Our paraprofessionals will have professional development, and we will have whole school training as well. We will be going over SEL, calm classroom training, and increasing students' SELs. That will be led by our school counselor. Creating powerful professional learning systems that guarantee learning for all students. Again, our grade level team meetings, our ILT team, and our HEART team is examples of those. Principal competency C, leading a school culture and environment that successfully develops the full range of students' learning capacities, creative, social, emotional, behavior, and physical. This year, we offer summer OST programs. As you heard earlier from our wonderful students, we had an LSC student representative candidate poll held school-wide. We have restarted a student voice committee. So any member of our LSC candidates that did not make it will be joining that committee. And school-wide, what we're doing to move the school forward is we opted in to be part of Better Together school-wide book study. We have a book study for 65 employees. Our network, ISIL, will be supporting us with that book study, as well as our counselor in implementing Better Together. Principal competency D, empowering and motivating families in the community to become engaged. Some of the things we did for the month of September and began in August was our back to school bash. Tubman Bulldog Blast is the way we communicate, and that will be sent out twice a month moving forward. We also encourage weekly staff newsletters, Tubman website, curriculum night, high school information session, and we hosted a September monthly principal conversation that will be on the first Friday of every month. Principal Competency E. Relentlessly pursue self-discipline thinking and actions. Today, we held our first staff listening session. We have a retired principal partnership, which will help me reflect on last year, build on the traditions that already exist, and move toward continuous improvement. I meet monthly with my coach from CPS, Dr. Linda Williams, and she visits the school. Diversity, equity, and inclusion coach has also been given to us from the district. Can you go back one more? Also, recently, I was out of the building to attend important professional development around adaptive leadership. I am in a cohort of 20 principals for Network 4 and will be attending adaptive leadership professional development this entire year. 20th day projection was 362 students. This was asked at our last LSC meeting. How many students were we projected to have this year? On the 20th day, we were projected for 362 students. Council members earlier received a copy of our school budget with these projected numbers. Also, enrollment last year prior to the meeting, because some members may have not seen it from last year, so I shared the budget. We have a decrease in enrollment, and we are very concerned about it as well. And we're working with parent representatives on a strategic recruitment plan. I will discuss this in the next couple of slides. This year's current enrollment as of 9/20/2022. If you notice, last year we had 2 pre-K classrooms. They were both half day. This year, we're excited to offer a full day pre-K. These are our numbers for our K, our first, second, third grade classrooms. What differs from last year is we only have 1 classroom for 4th and 5th, and there's our 6th, 7th, and 8th numbers. Currently, we have 294 students in 17 classrooms. Last year, we had a total of 20 classrooms. We had 2 pre-K and a 4th and 5th that we don't have this year. Those are some things that impacted our enrollment as well. Just to back up, can you go back to that slide? At our network meeting, we were assured, our CEO attended, and he assured us that this year's budget is not impacted by the enrollment. No teacher positions will be impacted by our current enrollment for this year. The budget is set. Tubman strategic recruitment plan to increase enrollment. I'm very excited to announce earlier this week, I did meet with a parent to discuss a recruitment plan. From that meeting, listening to feedback from that parent as well as other parents, we decided to have preschool outreach. We are scheduled to have a Go CPS parent session for our Tubman pre-K families. Currently, with the low kindergarten enrollment, we strategically plan to have an information session to help parents understand the Go CPS process and walk them through it since the system is open right now. As of Tuesday, I was invited by Park West Nursery School, Co-op Nursery School grade fair on October 20th. And I responded, and we will be going and using some of our brochures to promote Harriet Tubman at our nearby preschools. I also formed a partnership during our Network 4 administrative meeting on yesterday. I spoke with the principal from Alcott Elementary, and I am waiting on a date to come in and have a conversation with their parents to promote enrolling in Tubman, as well as Audubon Elementary that has 8 classrooms, and they will not be able to take all of those students. So that is one of the strategic ways and strategies that we have to fill our kinder classrooms. Other suggestions that we are working toward is updating our website, especially the enrollment section of the website, adding infographics to the homepage, and promoting upcoming school tours and events. Social media, highlighting school activities, including our sports, tours, on our Facebook pages and posts. And we will be appealing. While it is the principal's job to lead this effort, I cannot do it alone. It takes all of us to increase enrollment. So there will be appeal to our community to promote school activities on their social media as well. Our IB report. All Tubman IB primary years and middle year program teachers participated in the IB professional development during the week of August 15th. These workshops included differentiated learning around the inquiry cycle in PYP and various subject learning in MYP. Additional staff members will be trained throughout the year in preparation for our MYP evaluation and visit that's scheduled for May 2023. Ms. Perillis will be meeting with PY teachers after school for extended planning during the week of 9/26 and October 3rd. This time will be dedicated to unit planning and collaboration for our staff. Ms. Vincent will be meeting with MYP teachers after school during the week of 9/26 and 10/3 to continue revising MYP units and subject group overviews. We also dedicated time for Ms. Vincent, our MYP coordinator, to meet with our specialists and diverse learners this Friday on our professional development day. This is an evaluation year for our middle year program teachers, so we will be working closely to ensure that they are working with Ms. Vincent to prepare for our visit. This process will include the submission of evidence to the IB in February and April in the form of preliminary documentation and include a self-study as well as 3-day visits in May. Tubman Travel Program. We're really excited and lucky to have a staff member who is really supporting 7th and 8th grade trips and restarting that traditions. Meetings have been held for both the 8th and 7th grade trips. World Strides is our current travel partner. 7th grade will be traveling to Springfield, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, and Hannibal, Missouri from May 30th through June 1st. We're excited to announce that our 8th graders will be traveling to Boston from May 3rd through May 5th. We currently have 29 8th graders enrolled on their trip, which is 70% of the class. We currently have 13 7th graders enrolled on the trip, which is 45% of the class. Financial assistance is in place for families in need. Ms. Vincent is the point of contact if you have any further questions, and she will work with FOT support. Counselor updates. Meet the counselor, introduction and reintroduction. The rapid listening by Con Dorfield Google slide presentation was shared for pre-K through 2. Google slide presentation gratitude activity was shared for 3rd through 8th. Go CPS parent student presentation was given on 9/8. BHT co-facilitator is our counselor and she meets bi-weekly with the BH team. Our first meeting was held 8/26/2022, and I am a member of that team. Culture and Climate co-facilitator, and she's forming a committee to help support us, and the Culture and Climate Committee will help develop staff surveys. Our counselor is also our second step coordinator. There was whole staff training on August 16th, part of our week 0 planning, and Ms. Beaker, our counselor, is overseeing the implementation of a school-wide second step. We are also engaging in Calm Classroom, and she's our co-facilitator. The staff learning course was 9/15/2022, and whole staff training, Preparing to Teach, will be this Friday on 9/23/2022. Case manager updates. Our team day this year is on Tuesdays. Attending monthly case manager meetings is some of the things our case manager has been doing. She's also working with MTSS, holding group meetings, and she's working with our ISO Merrick Van Hellis from the network for Branching Minds. She's meeting with the clinicians and BHT team. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Hall.
So the PPLC is an advisory committee, and it develops and presents recommendations to the principal and the LSC on matters relating to educational program, curriculum, school improvement, and obviously the implications for budgeting. We meet once a month. It is an open meeting, so the information is listed on the LSC page of the website, as it is one of the committees of the LSC. And it includes both Emily Holbert and myself, the 2 teacher reps, as well as up to 7 additional certified staff members from Tubman, who are elected every year. And our election is going to be next Friday morning. So as soon as the election is done, we will then set our first meeting, organizational meeting, and all that information will be on the school website, again, on the LSC page.
Thank you for that update. School planning and budget process. We use our continuous improvement work plan to help guide our budgeting. Our 4 CIWP strategies continue to be social emotional learning, multi-tiered systems of support, student voice and engagement, and curriculum. We will be continuing our CIWP action items. This is a continued this year. Illinois State Board approved 3 years for schools CIWP, which is our continuous improvement work plan, strategic planning, and we are on year 3. So we will continue our action items and update you at the next meeting. 2022-23 funding sources. Discretionary funding sources is our student-based budgeting, state aid, and Title II. Friends of Tubman has funded 2 of our positions this year, our 0.5 bilingual teacher and our restorative justice coordinator. Just to give you an update, we have hired someone. We are waiting for him to complete the onboarding process and waiting on his fingerprints to clear. And we received donations from Cubs Charities. Centrally funded positions are positions that are funded by the district. They include our diverse learner teachers and paraprofessionals, our early childhood teachers and paraprofessionals, our magnet cluster, our international baccalaureate, bilingual, critical language, security, lunchroom, counselor's clerk, and our care room attendant. Some of our discretionary funds this year, which has already been voted on last year, is being spent for funding for extended school day, as you heard, for our staff for planning, funding for our substitutes, and our right at school for lunch and recess. Friends of Tubman is also supporting with staff professional development, and we do have ongoing professional development for our Envision math curriculum, and we are planning additional days for training for teachers, and we are just working out narrowing those days. But this Friday, there is an Envision training. Earlier, our LSC members all received, prior to our meeting, our budget summary of our internal accounts. And as of 8/31/2022, we have $213,044.52. We wanted to share some of the highlights of some of the wonderful things, as Molly shared, that's going on in the school. Middle school's first Fun Friday team building activity. Some of our other successes, engaging our families. We had a wonderful curriculum night. Attendance plan. Our overall school-wide goal is 95% this year. We will be restarting our monthly raffles to increase attendance motivation. What's to come? As we share, this is a time for us to work together to collaboratively move on and create a sense of belonging for everyone. We will do this by strengthening the instructional core, by developing instructional schedules that maximize both SEL and content area needs, prioritizing critical on grade level standards and revising our IB units, doing our extended day planning, interventions and enrichment programs, and ongoing communications and partnerships with families. Those are some of the things that we're going to continue to build on, as well as building positive relationships with all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Gibson, for your report. Before we move to the amended aspect of the agenda about enrollment specifically, I mentioned that one of the initiatives regarding staff was a listening session that happened today or yesterday. Today, you mentioned. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Obviously, not the details of what was discussed, but the listening session. Who participated? Was it for all teachers? Was it by grade level?
It was for all staff. All staff had the option. We're going to continue to have this, and so far we had a couple of teachers. Some of our new teachers came down to the listening session and had a discussion with our new retired principal partner as well as myself.
Okay, that's great. Are these listening sessions going to be like promoted, obviously, to the entire staff? Are there going to be about specific topics, or like I just want to make sure that all the staff gets like the information that this is available, that this is happening?
Yeah, so we sent the information in the staff newsletter. I do think we could have better. We were out of the building on Tuesday, and then today to be honest, we were really focused on the student poll. So we didn't do a reminder on the intercom. We did write some of that down as feedback. We are going to try to promote it more by putting a flyer by the time clock so teachers know, and making sure that it's in the weekly so they know. We'll try to host one at least twice. And it's a listening session. We are just listening to see what staff say their needs are, really trying to be reflective and really trying to rebuild relationships and establish new ones with our new staff.
Thank you. I think I saw Ms. Holbert raise her hand first.
Well, my question was about that listening session because I know you said that it was in the staff newsletter, but there is sometimes a lot of things in there, so I think it got lost. And also noted someone that it was on the calendar, but again, yeah, I don't think it was reminders in an email or an announcement. I have a lot of staff members telling me they were unaware that there was a listening session today. So I agree with that. We need to do some better preparation and sharing of that information with the staff. Secondly, and I don't know if Mr. Hall wanted to speak to this, but I was curious about the restorative justice coordinator that you said that person was hired and going through the fingerprinting. And I was just curious if you could provide any more context on that role or the interview process, because I was unaware that I know we had solidified somebody, I thought like a couple people, and then they changed their mind and that it was still kind of TBD. So I was surprised to hear we hired someone, which is good, but just wanted some more context.
Yes, we had, we've hired someone and then that person decided not to come on. And then we had another hiring team and interviewed some other candidates and we extended an offer. Right now, the onboarding process is taking time. This person has been waiting for 3 weeks. So we're waiting. There's nothing we've been told from talent that some of the fingerprints are taking up to 30 days. So I've stayed in constant contact with this person, but sometimes that poses an issue and people take other jobs. I'm hoping that doesn't happen in this case.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah, so I was actually wondering, both to Principal Gibson and to Ileana as chair, because I don't want to overstep my role. I know this is the principal report, but I wanted to know if it was okay if I could give some additional details on the information that was shared. While I appreciate that it was very positive, it's awesome to hear all the wonderful things we are doing. I do feel that we owe it to our community and our parents, especially after hearing the public comments tonight, to give some details. I know vagueness has been one of the criticisms, and so I feel like additional detail could be provided. Again, I don't want to overstep my role.
Mr. Hall, do you have like a specific area that you would want more details to be
yeah,
provided by the principal?
Sure. So the additional details I wanted to give were on the supports we have received as a school, as a staff from the network, and on the professional development of the staff. I think those were my two, and then I have some questions. So it was staff professional development and supports from the network.
So Mr. Hall, can you please first ask the questions you have? And then
First
maybe,
the questions?
Yeah, please ask
Okay.
the questions first, and then Principal Gibson maybe can elaborate if you give her like specific topics you're gonna talk about in details.
Okay.
Maybe have it as a conversation as Q&A.
Yeah, so I guess one of my questions were, the staff was provided with support back in June by the Office of Equity. We had a very productive professional development session where I think a lot of staff members were feeling heard by the Office of Equity, that there were obviously some concerns in our community. I don't think that's a secret. And we were promised that they would be back on week 0. We have not received any PD from the Office of Equity as staff members since June. I know that Principal Gibson mentioned that the Office of Equity is supporting administration. I'm just wondering why we're not getting the support as a staff. We did get professional development from the Anti-Defamation League, which I was in the middle school one. It was a great professional development, but it was not what the staff had asked for and were promised back in June. So that was my first question.
So to answer that question, I did not say that I am receiving support from the Office of Equity. The question Molly had is, what requests did I make? And one of the requests was support from the Office of Equity. And I'm waiting to get that support, but the supports I described are supports that started this week from ONS, which is our retired principal partner, a DEI coach, and ongoing support from our chief, our deputy chief, and we will have 2 ISIL instructional support leaders throughout the year committed to support and moving Tubman forward as well, working alongside admin and staff.
Okay, so
I
I
hope
guess
that answers it.
maybe I would like more information, maybe not tonight, but on how the staff is being supported and why we did not get the professional development that we had been promised in June on week 0. I guess that's what I'm asking. For Envision, again, I know, and that was Patty had asked, to answer Patty, the 25,000 from the Cubs did not cover professional development for Envision. We did receive an introduction to Envision in June. The professional development the staffers receive on Friday is a further introduction to Envision. It's not the professional development that normally comes with the $25,000 curriculum. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Principal Gibson.
So actually the Envision training for this Friday is in addition to the overall, and it is hosted by Envision, and it's sponsored also by the district is covering that cost. We have reached out to our Envision partnership, and right now we have secured professional development. We're narrowing the dates for it. This is our first one, and the district provided dates for Envision training for schools that are using Envision. So that is forthcoming. And you're correct, we have not used the 25 Cubs Care funds yet. And that can be used for additional professional development, but we're using our professional development funds that was voted on during the budget.
So I'm glad to hear the professional development that comes with the program is going to be provided. I think the staff concern is, we've just done progress reports. We're halfway through the first quarter. This is the curriculum that we voted to use as a school this year. If we want to use it with fidelity, the professional development needs to be scheduled as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Actually, the dates that they offered to do the professional development was the same days that during week 0, the IB. So when we met with the HART team, it was decided on that the IB training was more important, and we were not able to do those 2 days that the Envision could do the training. So now we're working with our PYP coordinator and our Envision to narrow down the next professional development days and to try to survey and see if teachers want to stay after school, because the trainings that they're offering are 2 hour and 3 hour, and we only have 1 hour during grade level time. So it'll either have to be extended day or it'll have to be during a principal directed day. But we're open to those dates and we're working on those.
So again, I'm glad to hear they're going to happen. It's just a pity they couldn't happen in week 0 before the students started the school year. I met Principal Carey today, who I know was mentioned in the slideshow, and I was very happy to see we are getting that support from the network. I'm just wondering why that support came over 3 weeks after we received the letter from CEO promising us support in the building. So I don't know if there's an answer to that. So why was there that 3-week gap between the promise of support and the actual support physically in the building?
I don't have a response to that report because I didn't decide the support.
Okay, thank you. And one final question, I promise. The rest is enrollment, so I'll save that to the next one. I was surprised not to see any information on the 5 essentials survey that the staff, students, and parents take every year. I know historically, I know the official report doesn't come out till October, but historically, the staff has always received that information on week 0, so we can kind of look at our strengths and weaknesses as a school and community and plan for the year. And the LSC typically gets it in that first or second meeting of the school year again, so that we can all be on the same page and see what our strengths and weaknesses are as a school and support each other and plan together. So I was wondering why that wasn't in the today's presentation.
Well, we want to share the information with our school staff first, and it'll be shared out with LSC in October. We haven't had a chance to share it with our HART team, our ILT team, to get feedback on strategies, but that is a plan for our October meeting. So it'll be forthcoming.
Okay, thank you. Again, that would have been great to have before the school year started with students. Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you, Ileana. Thank you, Principal Gibson, for the report. It's great to hear the wonderful work that's happening at the school and the updates as well. And also thank you to parents who shared their questions and made their comments. Just kind of tying together what was both shared and following up with some questions and moments of gratitude. I just wanted to ask a couple, some of us are new families, and so I know there's a lot of edulingo happening here. I wrote down just a few acronyms we used: OCL, IL, SCL, BHT, ILT, MTSS. So I'm just wondering where we can create opportunities to kind of unpack those acronyms and really help to empower our families and our stakeholders kind of know why these acronyms are so important and how they're really used to kind of fuel those key supports for our children. And also very curious to kind of know what that Better Together book is. I would love to, as an LSC rep, read that book as well. And it, as a family, as a parent, it says, says Better Together. Okay, very good. So if, I don't know if you want to share that in the next weekly bulletin, I think that'd be great. And just to come back to that question, I know that was asked by one of our parent reps about, how we can create some consistency with those weekly bulletins. That has truly been a tradition for the school in terms of just having those weekly bulletins, just all of the rich information that's in there. If there's any supports that you may need, Principal Gibson, and being able to push those out consistently, that would be great. But I do find true benefit and value for those weekly bulletins. And I was just trying to look at my email, like getting the latest and greatest updates in there from the bulletin. And I didn't quite realize, thank you for highlighting that we hadn't, received those bulletins in a while. So just, wanting to offer that support. And if there's any additional information you want to share on that in terms of, what supports you may need above and beyond what the LSC can accord. I also just can't highlight enough, the enrollment concern. I'm grateful that, there is some conversations being held with a few parents to kind of do some presentations, etc. Very curious if there are some tools or, like maybe information sheets or flyers that, could be readily made available to share with all interested families and community stakeholders who'd be more than willing to help spread the word of Tubman. I know in the past there've kind of been parent ambassadors, there have been kind of ready-made flyers, and there's even kind of social media that could be easily shared with other families. So just curious to kind of know if there is conversations or plans in terms of that enrollment strategy you had outlined as it relates to how can we make tools and resources readily available to the school community at large to deal with the realization that we are almost 100 kids enrolled in our school for the school year. And so that will conclude my questions and comments and moments of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback, especially with the BHT OSEL lingo. I'll make sure that I'm explaining that more, and even making sure that we have information for our new parents to understand the different programs and how those supports work. Currently, we are working on those flyers you just described, and we do have a communication toolkit. There were some parents who came in, but we do have a communication group as part of the LSC. They just haven't met yet. So when we have a meeting date, I'm hoping to those parents who attended meeting with me will attend those meetings as well. And I'm looking forward to sending out our blasts. They are not weekly. We send them out every other week. So I just want to clarify that. Prior to the start of the school year, we were just sending it out every week because there was really pertinent information that needed to get out. But it's always been bi-monthly, twice a month, every other week. And we will continue that, and that will be starting soon. Thank you for offers for the support for that. And we appreciate everybody's support in moving forward and ideas to increase enrollment, because that's a concern and it's a common goal of all of ours. So we're better together. If we continue that theme and put our heads together, I'm sure we can think of ways to help increase our enrollment here at Tubman.
Thank you. Lori?
Hi. So thank you for everybody so far. I did want to address something to the whole LSC. I had mentioned that I kind of floated this in an email. I do think that we need to either add it to next month's agenda or have a special meeting. We do need to talk about how we are communicating as an LSC to the public. Julia Coland, it was all my willpower not to just answer you right away. I agree that you don't know what's happening. I also find it's frustrating that as an LSC member, I don't know what's happening sometimes. And to all the people from CPS who show up to these LSC meetings, that's great. I would like to hear from you and see what you're doing outside of coming to these meetings, because that's where a lot of the real work is done. So I think that we need to talk about what is our communication strategy. We were contacted by, I don't know if everybody was, we were contacted by the Chicago Tribune. They wanted us to do interviews about what was happening with the principal situation. I turned it down, but I know that we should be prepared that other parents have gone to the press and that we are going to be hearing more from that, and we need to be prepared and figure out how we want to handle that. And I think that as an LSC, we also need to be more transparent. I've sent in some examples and I can send them into the whole LSC, but how we communicate with parents should be more out there. In the case of time, I'm going to shorten this one. I had brought in a whole series of our forms from our school, but I think they can wait till next month because we're so far in. But Principal Gibson, I did want to ask who came up with our Harriet Tubman Elementary and IB World School acceptable use policy for our technology. I mentioned this to Vice Principal Moore and to several other parents. There are some, it basically says at least twice that they will call law enforcement. I personally will not sign any form that gives permission for law enforcement to be called on a child. Any device not returned will be considered stolen property, and law enforcement agencies will be notified. A police report will be filed in cases of theft, vandalism, and other acts covered by insurance. And then there's the whole list of all the replacement costs. I want to know, is this a form unique to us? I did ask a few other schools about their acceptable use policy. None of them used this form, and none of them felt that it was appropriate to threaten calling the police. So I wanted to know, is this our form or did this come from CPS is the first thing? And to also encourage parents to really read what you're signing. So I was curious to know about that form.
Most of that language you just described as far as filing police reports, that is a policy of CPS. But I can give you further information offline. I just do want to also tell the council, I'm still in the building and there is a sub here. I want to at least get to the second public participation for the sake. So if it's questions that you guys have that haven't been answered regarding the principal report, if you guys could please email me.
And then I'll just I would like this on the agenda for next month. I want to talk about our communications policies. And I also want to talk about several forms, and I will send them all to the LSC ahead of time so that you know what I would like to discuss.
Thank you, Lori. When we discuss next action steps, please repeat this again so we can add it and for it to be included in our next agenda. Okay, Principal Gibson, I understand the time constraints. So after your report,
I'm sorry, I just need to I need to call the supervisor to let them know I'm still in the building so they don't lock me in.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm here.
Okay. So we had amended the agenda to discuss enrollment specifically. You did touch some aspects of it in your principal report, but I don't know if if the council wants to have a further discussion. I know that my question and the purpose of me wanting to add this specifically to the agenda, one of the parts you answered saying that the budget is not going to be affected for any position after the day 20th. But I really wanted to know, like, as of today, because I know that the numbers are changing daily, literally, in our school. So as of today, do we have a number of how many students are enrolled as of today, yesterday, Monday, this week? Because it's, as I said, it's changing weekly.
So I shared in my report, and I don't know if maybe you didn't see it, our total number of enrollment right now is 294.
Is that up till today?
That was as of yesterday when I ran a report, 294.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hall?
And just to clarify, the 294 includes 20 pre-K students. As far as our budget for next year, which is based on the 20th day of the school year, this was this past Monday, it is 274 because the budget for the following year is decided on the prior year's 20th day. So our budget, our school-based, but student-based budget for next year is based on an enrollment of 274 students. This year's budget was based on our enrollment last year on the 20th day of 362 students. So that is a loss of 88 students this year. So I know someone asked about loss of staff. Again, Principal Gibson said nothing will happen this year. Obviously, we have a lot to think about for next year. Thank you, Principal Gibson, for providing all the information on what is going to be happening to get enrollment. Again, and I guess this is my theme tonight, why wasn't this started earlier? Let's be honest, any child we get now, and I'm going to be blunt, does not provide us any more dollars this year. It will possibly give us more money next year, but we will have to wait until the 20th day, is my understanding, by which time we'll have already had to decide hiring or not hiring staff members. And I'm really concerned. So I just want to know, why was nothing done when we got our staff lists, early August? What has happened in the last 8 weeks about trying to get our enrollment up for Monday, which we all know is the crucial date for CPS?
I said, hold on, I'm still at the LSC and I'm trying to make sure whoever subjects doesn't like me in, but give me a second. I apologize. I'm trying to talk to the supervisor, but to address your concerns, there's multiple things we've done. So the comment that there's nothing has been started. I attended back to school bashes. One of our parents had created flyers that I passed out during CPS back to school bashes. We constantly send out emails and using our toolkit to get any students through the second round of Go CPS and send out emails. Even Eliana is on here and can share that she received an email from that toolkit for her own kids. So we have been actively working to improve and meeting with any parents or staff members. If you have any ideas, we love your support and help to increase enrollment. Again, our theme is better together. So if we all work together, I'm sure we can increase it. Also, during the budget process, you can also do what's called the appeal. So if our numbers increase, we can do an appeal at that time for them to reconsider our budget. So it's not just the 20. So that appeal process is always there for that protection as well. And that's what our hope is, to increase our enrollment and go through that process when we get there.
So then I would suggest at a further meeting, or maybe the communications team, or when we're looking at recruiting, is taking a look at, as you mentioned, what was done. And apologies for implying nothing was done. Let's take a look at what was done and why it didn't work. Because from the day we got our class list to the 20th day, we've consistently lost students. I've been watching my classrooms get smaller and smaller, and I will be completely honest, it is very disheartening as the teacher at the school in front of those students.
Ms. Holbert?
Yeah, and I was taking my hand on and off. I frankly have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings here, but in the interest of time, I'll just piggyback on what Mr. Hall said. And as it relates to getting the staff involved, and you keep saying better together, I could have sworn I was on the LSC communications team that I signed up for last year, and I haven't heard anything. I've not been included in any conversations around enrollment or asked any ideas. And I know some of my fellow PEK to staff members have not been included either. So, I think a lot of the staff is still here and still committed and willing to help, and I don't feel like we're being utilized in that way. So that's one point. I'm still curious about the social justice coordinator person, because I was under the impression that no one was really sure who exactly was hired and what exactly that role will do and how they'll help and be different than the counselor or the psychiatrist, and what role they'll have. It's undetermined to me. And the last point is all over the board, but these are all relevant. It's about the Envision training, because you mentioned that's on Friday, and I feel like that was like vaguely mentioned to some people in a GLT, grade level team meeting, but not to all. And I had some staff members asking me if that was on Friday, if that was provided by like you, or they had to sign up on their own. So it's still like unclear about said training on Friday. And we haven't seen an agenda for that day, which is now 48 hours away. So I just wanted to be clear with everyone that the PD for Friday is a little TBD, frankly, in terms of what has been clearly communicated, in my opinion. So I think this just goes to show that communication still needs to be worked on at this school.
Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it, and we'll use that toward continuous improvement. And please take advantage of those listening sessions and bring any ideas that you have.
Okay, well then it needs to be promoted, because I did not know it was today, neither did Mr. Hall, Ms. Perillis, and a bunch of staff. No one knew it was today because it wasn't reminded or discussed or anything.
Well, you did acknowledge that it was in a staff newsletter and it was on the calendar. Okay. I did share it, and moving forward, we can make announcements and also send a reminder email. So those are some strategies we know with a low amount of people to attend of ways to improve. So we will work on that, and we hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.
Lori?
Emily, I'm so sorry that you signed up for the LSC Communications Committee and didn't know. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. But I also do want to say, just in case people are listening and wondering what's happening out there, the LSC Communications Committee met like every 2 weeks, all during the spring, with a huge portion of it being about enrollment. And so I think the parent and Charlotte, you kick ass. But there are a lot of parents on that committee, and they created brochures and they created new materials, and they did so much. So I do want to acknowledge their work. And yes, we need more. We need more to be done with all of that work. But I wanted to say thank you for that. And along the lines of communication, parents were not hearing. And again, you're saying, and I'm saying, be productive. Putting stuff in the bottom of those email blasts doesn't help, because parents, they're coming from different ways, and we do, like, we all swear we're going to read them, but maybe the priority should be, I don't know how teachers communication, but parents, it's like top of the line. Hey, everybody, here's 50 ways I'm going to let you know that we have a parent teacher coffee or whatever. I know now that it's the first Friday of the month. Great. But how are we letting parents know all of these things and actively doing it? We can't just assume that parents are going to read the emails. We need to figure out all these different ways to blast people, because everybody's coming to us on different levels. And it is clearly shown that our communication skills are not where they're supposed to be. And I commend all the parents who are still on this call at 9 o'clock at night. I think they're showing how much they want communication and how much they want to be transparent. They want to know, what is the book we're reading? What is the paraprofessional training? Why didn't they get the math? I mean, we spent all this money on a math curriculum. We're all going to curriculum nights and being told, we don't really know yet. So we just want more communication. And even if it seems like too much information is never too much. So I would personally would like to see as much as we can do, and I'm happy to help with that.
Thank you, Lori. We'll take you up on it.
Okay, just because it is 9 o'clock and we need to move on, I just want to clarify something, Principal Gibson. The Cubs charity money that was received, was it or wasn't it used for the curriculum? I got confused because I thought it was, and that Mr. Hall said it didn't cover PD, but was it used for the curriculum?
No, Mr. Hall shared that it wasn't used for the curriculum. We still have that money.
No, I'm sorry to jump in. My understanding was it was used for the curriculum.
But
the
that they didn't.
$25,000 was the cost of the curriculum. That did not include the $5,000, I believe, is the cost of the PD. I could be off by a bit. So my understanding was, based on the budget we voted on in April, that the $25,000 from the Cubs was going to pay for the curriculum, and that did not include the professional development.
So it's my understanding that after we voted on that, we had another meeting and we voted to use other discretionary funds that we found on a pointer line to purchase that, and that money is still up to LSC's decision of how it is spent.
Okay, I'll check. We can all check the minutes and just make sure for next time. Thank you.
So technically, we still have those funds that could be used for the PD that is so greatly needed by our staff. Well, we can put it as an action item for our next meeting. Okay, so our next point is review and vote of budget and requested transfer. Is there any transfer requests, Principal Gibson?
So I'm making a budget on transfers and on the budget to be able to spend is no different than when we made this request last year, to be able to spend up to $5,000 to purchase stuff that students need or our staff needs, and then it is reported out at the following meeting, or to be able to transfer funds to cover expenses or supplies needed for students or staff without LSC approval and being reported out on the next monthly meeting when those funds are allocated.
Is there a motion to approve this request?
I motion that we approve the request to be able to use up to $5,000 on budget or budget transfers without LSC approval, and that it will be reported out at the next meeting.
Does anybody second the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
So I just want a point of clarification. So it's just budget transfers, not expenditures?
It's both budget and transfers. So expenditures and transfers. For example, like some of our, just to clarify, some of our subscriptions may be $2,000 or $2,800. And that's something that a students might need right away. I get requests from staff members, and being able to spend that and not have to wait 30 days to get approval and then spend it helps our students get what they need. And then budget transfers, sometimes we have to transfer money to pay for trips, supplies, substitutes, or professional development, and it exceeds the 1,000 amount.
So the default, if we don't vote, is anything above $1,000 has to get LSC approval, correct? Okay.
Correct.
But we can always vote to, change that number. I remember this vote last year, and I feel that there was a lot of confusion. People did not understand exactly what it meant, that the school could spend $5,000 without having to get approval, and they would just show us the receipts later. I've served on other LSCs, and I know that $5,000 is an extremely high amount. I do not feel comfortable giving that kind of authorization, especially with where we are right now. I think it's a really high amount to be able to spend, and I think that for such a large thing, that if we have to wait a little extra time, I would be surprised if we're going to lose an opportunity because we had to wait. And I feel like this LSC has been very gracious and, hey, can we do a quick meeting? Can we just vote about this fundraiser? And I'm sure if there was something that, our kids are going to lose out if we don't vote, then I bet we could get together and be like, okay, let's just call in and do this vote. So I think it's too high of an amount, and I would not vote for it.
Cindy?
I'm confused. Are we revisiting this because it needs to be voted on again? Because we did vote on this last year already.
Yeah, it's my understanding that it's something we've already voted on, but it's my understanding that it needs to be voted on every year. So I just wanted to make sure we're following policy and protocol to get it approved again this year.
Okay.
But thank you, Lori, for sharing your discussion and concerns about it.
Sarah?
So, question I know I asked last year, I'll ask again just for point of clarity. This is $5,000 as ongoing, correct? It's not a cap, right? So it's $5,000 per transaction, per transfer, per expenditure. So just want to make sure we're clear on that. Okay. Is that correct? So it's not up to $5,000. It's $5,000 per transaction.
Up to 5,000. It doesn't mean it'll be 5,000 every time. And budget transfers could be any amount from $200 to take care of something up to different amounts, but anything over 5,000 would require LSC approval. And it is always reported at the next meeting if it occurs. So there is safety nets in place. Expenditures are shared at the meeting if something was spent on purchase.
Cindy?
It doesn't feel like a safety net if the expenditure already happened. The money's already gone. And I think where the confusion landed for me last year is that I read it as for the year up to $5,000, not as many times as you might see fit that you might need to use that money. So it does feel excessive, especially if you think that you have that up to $4,999 could be spent as many times as felt necessary. I think it's excessive as well.
My thoughts on that are that as a community and as a school, I'm all for administration making decisions like that because I've been there, not as a principal, obviously, but I've been in that role. But it has always been my goal to communicate each and every cent we spent with our community. And I feel like all of them should be notified, discussed, and voted on. And as Lori said, we are all so committed that I'm sure that if something comes up that we need to discuss immediately, it will happen. So I am also not that comfortable with the fact that it could be up to 5,000. And I know it can, there may be instances that it's only $100 to say something, or 2,000 or 3,000. But I don't feel comfortable right now, more so because if we inform the council and our community after the fact, it could lead to other discussions and it's already approved. So maybe it could even be a discussion of parents saying, hey, I could offer that and I'm a CPS vendor. You know, it's all of the things that could happen. I feel like it's better to have it out in the open, the discussion. Always looking for like what's best for our school. So that's why I wouldn't feel comfortable with approving it as is. Any other, Lori?
It's not about, I just want to say in this case, it's not about you. I think it also protects you because you don't want anybody else questioning, why was this spent? Why was this? Is this somebody? It just protects you too. And with a way that our budgets are so tight and we're very fortunate in how we raise funds, we don't want anybody to come back and question how it was spent. I just think it puts in such a protection for you as an administrator and us as an LSC and responsible parents if it's a larger thing. So it's nothing personal. It really is just to protect you and the school and everybody and our money.
Principal Gibson?
Thank you for that, Lori. I appreciate that. At this moment, I would draw my motion. So we can just, for the sake of time, move on.
Thank you, Principal Gibson. So the next point would be fundraising, and I want to thank Patty for staying this long. So if you could go over, we have 4 fundraisers that we all got the proposals for. So Patty, if you could go over them. For the sake of time, you know, I prefer to vote individually, but I will vote by block. We can consider voting by block because it's very late. So Patty, if you could just give us like a brief description of all 4 of the fundraisers that FOT is proposing.
Yeah, brief is the keyword here. Minted holiday cards. We've done them every year. There's no fee to attend. It's just money that goes back to our school. If anyone uses Minted to do their holiday cards, we get 15% of all funds raised on the holiday cards. Last year, this raised $375 for the school. So that's the first one. You want to go and vote on it now? Oh, go to the end.
Please describe all 4.
Okay.
And then we will discuss if the council has more or wants more information, they can ask.
Okay. The next one was the Men's Basketball League in the Tubman Gym to be hosted on Wednesday nights. It's a weekly men's league for dads, caregivers, community members. We've done it probably for 5 or 6 years prior to COVID, and then we stopped. We're proposing to bring it back. It's a community building for the school as well as money raised. It's a $25 fee per player for the initial startup, and then they pay $10 each time they come. It's usually 3-on-3. 1 year, I know we raised, I think, around $4,000 a year for that. So it's a good fundraiser. And we also wanted this to go, we're proposing that this goes towards the middle school travel fund. So that's the second one. The MYP House T-shirt sales for middle school travel fund as proposed by Miss Vincent. We discussed this one together. She's done it at her, I believe, previous schools. FOT wants to sell color T-shirts for middle school students, which represent their house color. For those of you in middle school, you're aware of this. I'm just going to quote her because I don't want to misspeak, but she said, upon completion of the student design contest and selection of house logos for MYP houses, inquirers, thinkers, communicators, risk takers. FOT will sell the shirts to MYP students and teachers, and students will earn points daily when they wear the shirts. Any profits will go to the middle school travel fund, and the fee would be $15 per shirt, and we're hoping to raise around $1,000. So selling about 75 of those shirts. And then the last one is also proposed for the middle school travel fund, and it's done at some other schools, babysitting in the gym for parents and or guardian caregivers to have a night out. We don't have any set dates yet. We just kind of want to get this out there as a possibility. It would be babysitting services by our 8th grade students with a couple of staff as well as administration in the building and parent volunteers, so that will be overseen. The families would pay a fee to have their children babysat in the gym. They would get to play. Adults can enjoy an evening out. The fee that we're proposing is $25 per child, but that would be $10 additional per child if you have more than one kid, and that would include snacks and pizza, and it would be no more than 3 hours total in the gym. And I don't know the anticipated funds to be raised on that one, as we've never done this one before. That's a new one. So those are the ones for this time.
Thank you, Patty. I do want to, just for clarification, the one you're mentioning about the babysitting in the gym, that you mentioned that there would be parent volunteers. All these parent volunteers obviously have their volunteer credentials, or would have their volunteer credentials per CPS guidelines, right?
They would have to, and if we have staff overseeing it, I know Ms. Vincent has already offered to be one of those staff members. I don't think they would need to be more than level 2 because there would be staff assisting with that. So they wouldn't be alone with any CPS students.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any discussion about the fundraisers, Ms. Ford?
Yeah, all volunteers have to go through the level 1 volunteer process. That process has changed. All volunteers have to be level 1. And I also recommend you vote on these individually instead of block, because they need to be looked at individually. I have concerns with babysitting after school, insurance, things happen. That's just my 4 cents, but let me be quiet.
Okay, perfect. Will do. Thank you.
I
Mr.
just
Wall?
wanted-
Hmm?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I don't know who was first.
I'll go,
Lori.
Lori. Real quick, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate that everybody's starting to use the term caregivers, because we're starting to acknowledge all the different ways that our kids are, our families are. So I've been noticing it. Molly said it. Patty said it. I love that. Just want to make sure that there's a way when we're starting to have kids have to buy a shirt to earn points to wear, that the kids who cannot afford the shirts, is there a way that people could donate so that everybody still gets a shirt? Because those things really, I think it's ready. This trip is so massively expensive that there are going to be kids that even with financial aid may not be able to make it work, or their parents won't even, caregivers won't even accept that level of, I mean, this is huge, but at least with the t-shirts, it would be great if everybody gets a shirt and then they pay if they can or something like that.
Yes, we will ensure that that happens as we usually do.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, kind of to follow up on Kashasha real quick. I'm familiar with all the fundraisers except for the new babysitting one, and when I read it, I immediately had concerns about, like, has this been cleared with legal? Just the whole, I know there's parents there, but kids looking after other kids late at night at school. So I just wanted, has that been cleared with?
So I have not spoken to legal personally, but I have spoken to the CPS insurance, and so it wouldn't be late at night. It would be from 6 to 9 in the evening when the school building is still technically open. I mean, I think the person that sets the alarm leaves, I believe, 9:30 or 10 p.m. So the building is technically still open, but I wasn't aware about the volunteer status changing, which means I have to look at that for myself personally for volunteering now, because I wasn't aware that level 1 is required for anyone in the building. So that's something I will have to look into further. But in terms of the additional insurance, because I did reach out about that, I was told that if it's a fundraiser for the students in the building, we do not need extra insurance for that. And I'm also happy to forward that email communication that I had with the CPS insurance person.
Ms. Ford? Oh, I thought you had your hand raised. Sarah?
I just want to also put out there that there is a babysitting and childcare training that's offered through the Red Cross, and I think it's online and it can be taken, and it's designed for youth 11 and up. I can put that link in the chat, but that could be another opportunity for young people to think about, or even the organizers to think about in terms of maybe incentivizing and ensuring kind of like there's some training or supports for the youth who are signing up for it. So just wanted to throw that out there.
I recognize that this is something different and not something we've ever done before, so I can understand the concern. Obviously, in talking to Ms. Vincent about it, she felt pretty confident that we would be able to get, additional staff on those evenings, and that it would be something that the administration and teachers.
We lost you, Patty. Principal Gibson?
I think for that last fundraiser, I just think we need to get more clarification before we vote on it. So I'm all for it. It's not that I'm against it, but there are some other departments we need to reach out to.
And while she's
Patty
here,
Scruggs.
just other people, I've seen other schools do this. I'm sure Hamilton has done it. So legally there is a precedence for it. I'm sure we just have to find all the steps, but schools do this as a fundraiser where the kids watch them, and they watch a movie and eat popcorn while the parents go out and do holiday shopping or whatever, however it works out. But I know other schools do it. So I feel like if we want to wait to vote on it, but it will pass legal in my guess.
Oh, I see Patty. Patty's back.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm on my phone now. I don't know what happened. I lost the network connection. I don't want to take up more time. So if you guys just want to vote, or if you have further questions, whatever.
Any further questions about the fundraisers proposed? Okay, so I'm going to motion to approve the minted holiday cards fundraiser proposed by FOT.
I second.
Any further discussion about it? So we vote. Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Principal Gibson?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me too. So the fundraiser is approved. I'm also going to move a motion to approve the men's basketball league at our gym proposed by FOT. Anyone second the motion?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? So we'll vote. Principal Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks? We'll come back to you. Robert,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks. Might have lost her connection. Ms. Brooks? It's a yes for me too. Ms. Brooks, are you there? Oh, I think her
I'm
connection.
sorry. Were you
Oh,
waiting for my vote?
yeah, I'm
so sorry. My Chromebook went
We're voting
dead.
for
Yes.
we're voting for the men's basketball league in Tubman, the fundraiser.
Yes. I vote yes.
Thank you. So the fundraiser is approved. I'm gonna motion the MYP house teacher t-shirt sales for the travel fund, as proposed by FOT. Anyone second the motion? Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any further discussion? We vote. Principal Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me. So the fundraiser, MYP, the t-shirt fundraiser is approved.
Thank you. And also Miss Vincent wants to say thank you for that as well. She's texting me. So thanks for that.
Okay. I am going to motion for postponing the approval or the voting for the babysitting fundraiser until we get further clarification about all the legal matters that it entails.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone second the motion?
I second.
Any further discussion? We vote. Principal Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Holbert?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And it's a yes for me too. So we're gonna put a hold on the voting and approval of this fundraiser until we get further clarification. Patty, if you get in contact with Principal Gibson about it and just send us all the information, the communication you've already had. We just want to make sure that this is like all by the book and that everyone's protected, FOT, the kids, the school, and everything. I do want to apologize, Patty, because I skipped the FOT report after the principal report. I know we're running like very, it's a long meeting, but if you want to highlight some points of what has been happening with FOT, please, that's important for us and for our school.
Really quick, Muskie Fest raised $4,000 for us this year, so that was amazing. Thank you to all the volunteers who stepped up that day. Popcorn subscription sales are up to $5,000 so far, which is amazing. Spiritware, I don't know where exactly we're at yet. We have until Sunday until the Spiritware store closes, so just continue to promote it, everyone. Staff too, if you can, let everybody know that it's still going on. So other than that, I don't have anything specific. That's it.
Thank you, Patty. Do we have any committee reports?
The very much needed Tubman Communication and Engagement Committee will meet next Thursday for its first meeting, and that will be posted on the website with a Zoom link, but it will be at 11:30 a.m. I kind of reached out to the initial core group of members from last year, and the daytime time slots seem to work the best. Of course, I'm open that could always change. Whatever would accommodate the most parents, I'm willing to do.
Thank you, Cindy. Lori?
Tubman Inclusive Education supporters had a great meeting. We'd love to get you more involved, and we're going to send out more information. Thank you for sticking it out this long. Bye.
Thank you, Lori. So our next point of the agenda is our next slot for public participation. So Robert, if you could please continue with our find out list, please.
Sure thing. I'll go ahead and read the
Thank you.
a little blurb again. So we've got members of the public are welcome to make comments and ask questions, but must sign in to participate. The public is called upon to speak in the order that they sign in. The public is kindly requested to limit their comments and questions to 3 minutes. Based on the comments or questions, the principal may address some concerns directly and, if necessary, create an action step for the LSC to follow up with the involved parties at a future date. While the LSC will do its best to address any comments or questions, when necessary, more time may be needed to adequately address a particular concern. And just following our practice from earlier, I'm going to sort of spin through the folks that we have listed here and then save any responses back to the very end. So the first person that is listed is Brittany Kersey.
Hey there. The first thing I just wanted to address is the, I'm going to pull up my photos here, the right to play. I just wanted to quickly ask if the Right to Play Act that was enlisted in 2021 that offers 30 minutes to play every day for children, grades K through 5, is indeed being implemented. So that's the first thing. Quickly, because of the long meeting, I also wanted to add that I thank everyone for their continued support, and also just to echo off of a lot of what has been addressed in terms of the dedication for the Tubman families and staff members that have been dedicated to what Tubman stands for. I thank you for that, and I look forward to the response on the right to play, as I have children who need to play. Thank you.
Thank you. The next individual that we have is Diamond Bogart.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Diamond Bogart. I am a Tubman parent, a special educator within Chicago Public Schools, as well as a rising administrative leader within the district. I'm here to speak to you all this evening in support of Principal Gibson. My daughter has attended Tubman for the last 4 years. I was honestly disheartened to hear that there were efforts taking place to rescind her principalship appointment. From the onset of her principalship, her outreach has always been informative, supportive, and equity-based, which is in alignment with the district. She is one of the most devoted, hardworking, passionate leaders that I know. As the principal at Tubman, she has made both myself and my daughter feel welcome, heard, and valued, which is always a priority within leadership. She has done a wonderful job leading the charge at Tubman. To close, I feel confident in saying that Principal Gibson is firstly a lifelong learner. She is committed to our students at Tubman. In addition to this, she values reflective practices as well as collaborative leadership, which are all imperative in ensuring equitable access and opportunity for all our students at Tubman. To you, Principal Gibson, I thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you. I acknowledge and understand that this work is not easy, but it takes a transformative and fearless leader, as well as the entire community here at Tubman, to make a lasting change. Lastly, I just wholeheartedly support the Better Together movement. Thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you. The next individual that we have is Laura Fromm.
Hi, everyone. For those that don't know me, it seems like a lot of new faces, which is exciting. I'm Laura. I've been speaking at these for a little while now. My main goal has been to bring awareness to literacy. Although the kids are no longer there, I'm still invested in Tubman's success as a community member. There are such amazing teachers that are doing a heavy lift, and I've heard that some are already taking action to help fill the gaps left by the Lucy Calkins and F&P curriculums. There's been many high-profile news articles recently about this and with the problems within those curriculums, and I'm happy to share those with anyone that would like to read them. It really needs to be a school-wide change and buy-in, which is why I'm excited to hear the future PPLC updates on the upcoming literacy deep dive. My hope is that it is done with an honest curiosity to learn the most up-to-date reading research, a comprehensive approach, and with a sense of urgency to treat learning to read as the emergency that it really is. Reading is the most basic and most important skill our kids will learn. All learning is based on the assumption that kids can read and read proficiently. If they can't master this skill early, it will affect everything. It is the foundation to not only their academic career, but success in life. 3/4 of below proficient readers in 3rd grade remain below proficient readers in high school. It's kind of a startling fact. And then I just wanted to take a second to echo what everybody's kind of been saying about enrollment and concerns. It just makes me, obviously we are not there, and I'm happy to share those thoughts with anyone that, like earlier, that had said that that could be a potential feedback loop. And I'm also just really concerned for the teachers in there. How are they expected to teach a brand new math curriculum without providing the PD? Was that, I'm just surprised that wasn't coordinated with CPS, like when they were doing their first week before the kids were there. Was that on CPS, on admin? I just kind of, as we look through the literacy as well, like we could give them the curriculum, but unless we give them the PD, it's kind of useless in a sense. So it's just quite a few weeks into school here. I'm just also concerned about the morale that they have, just, based on the letter that was read, and then now with the enrollment and job security, and then the CPS is not providing them with the training that they were promised, and the support that they deserve. So the CPS people on, and thanks to Ms. Ford. I know that you've been coming to all these special meetings throughout the summer, and you're showing up for so long, and you're really helping guide our LSC. So thank you. And then to all the other CPS people that might see this or hear this, if you could just really lean in and help support the school. I think everybody's really calling for it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And the last individual that signed up for public comment this evening is Gia Super.
Hi, everyone. It's so late, and I was about to cede my time, but I just wanted to quickly say how thankful I am for all the people that are on this call and still sticking with the school. And I had initially wanted to just ask a little bit about the math training and just put in a plug for getting high quality training by the creators of the program. And I understand that it sounds like maybe there were some scheduling conflicts at the beginning of the year, but I know we have a lot of new teachers to the school, and that just, as having taught in CPS, I just imagine the level of stress has to be very high for people who are trying to learn IB and figure out a math curriculum that they haven't been really trained on. So I hope that we can be creative in getting the highest level of training that comes from the producer of the curriculum, and if that means like a sub day or some other creative options to get folks released for that, I think that's something we should discuss. And then just the other piece, super quick, and we should talk about this some other time, is I was sad to see that some of the after school music programming ended up getting canceled because we didn't have enough takers. So I want to just put in a plug for finding a way to, if the reason is has anything to do with the price, for us to look for ways for students to defray the costs of that programming, so we can keep those programs robust, and possibly look for ways to do some push in during the school day with some of those the extra music programming, so that all students can have access, not just kids who can stay after school. So, and I echo lots of things that people said earlier. So thanks for sticking around.
Thank you. That was as I said earlier, the last individual that had signed up for this evening.
Principal Gibson, I don't know if you want to address any of the participants or what they were mentioning or asking about.
I wanted to thank all the participants for their feedback, really appreciate it. As far as the right to play, we have implemented those 30 minutes in K through 5 classrooms. At Tubman, we really appreciate that, and that's something that we're going to continue to make sure is implemented at our school. And we are looking forward to continuing professional development for our teachers. So as part of the contract, they did have an overview in June before we started, but there was a conflict with the IB and Envision training for week 0. We are hoping to resolve that matter as quickly as possible and come up with some additional dates for ongoing training for the Envision training. And we can put that as an action item to update you guys on October 12th, because we do want to be held accountable for that professional development and ensure our staff gets what they feel they need to be successful in supporting our students. Again, we are better together, and it is going to take our efforts of working together, and we are committed to making sure that professional development happens. Thank you all.
Thank you, Principal Gibson. Michael?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was just curious which committees or administrators coordinate getting after school programming at the school?
Sorry, Michael, I was distracted. I am the OST liaison, which covers some of it. And then obviously I also coordinate with Music House on the music programs. So I do some of the programming, and then some of our programming is provided by the Right at School company. They also do our lunch and recess.
Okay, thank you. So would it be through you and OST that things like the music program, and then if there were future programs brought in, that's how it would be coordinated through and approved?
Sure. Obviously, everything goes through admin approval as well, and so we collaborate with the administration. But yeah, as far as new programs, that would go through either me or administration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both. Our next is action items and next steps. I want to add that action items and next steps, I want us to discuss creating a specific budget committee for the LSC. So that is my proposal as an action item and next step to be discussed in our next agenda.
Could we add, because one of my things was to be, I would like to discuss a committee for LGBTQ kids and staff.
Of course.
They're not really represented like we have all these other groups, and I think that voice really needs to be amplified. And I think that would be a great thing to include student voice kids on. That would be awesome. And I want to discuss that as we're talking about action items. I want to discuss our paperwork. I want to talk about our student athletic code, the acceptable use policy, our family language survey, how we ask in the dance costumes, they say it's boys wear this, girls wear that. So I'd like to have that be more inclusive language. So basically take a look at our forms that we are sending out and asking people to sign.
Cindy?
Yeah, just I have that down for action items. Also, action items kind of looking into the funding for Envision and get to the bottom of I'm still under the impression that the Cubs money went to that. We had a lot of discussion around that because we needed to be specific in terms of how to spend that money. So we allotted that money specifically to the new math curriculum and not just sort of a slush fundy kind of thing. So let's get to the bottom of that. And then an update on professional development for Envision for sure, to make sure that that's happening. So
Sarah? Oh, sorry, Cindy, that's all?
Yes. Oh. Yes, I just wanted to also follow up with the conversation about enrollment and making sure that we are really thinking through and following up with tools, resources, and communication strategies to bolstering what that effort can and should look like as we work collectively and in partnership with everyone, including Principal Gibson and families and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Lori?
I also want to, sorry, you guys are so much for work for us to do. Talk about who we are as LSC communications and public relations. How are we communicating with our community? How are we communicating with the press if they approach us? We need to discuss that. And oh my God, what was the last thing? I'm so tired. There was one more thing. I can't remember what the other thing was, but it was important. Sorry, I'll add it before the agenda comes out.
Ms. Holbert? You're muted.
Oh, sorry, I'm so tired. I can hear it in my voice. I just wanted to say that I put some things in the chat that I had in mind that I wanted to share before I lost them. I didn't want to interrupt others. So just sort of reiterating some things that were said as it relates to our PD training and perhaps surveying some former staff and former families that were willing to speak about why they left so we actually can move forward better together, as we say.
Thank you, Ms. Holbert. I would also want to add as an action step to further discuss the protocols of volunteering because there might be conflicting info in the CPS website. Maybe it's not updated. So we can reach out to LSC Relations or CPS about this, but please, if it could be added as an action item. So those would be our action items. And then our last point in the agenda would be to announce that our next regular virtual meeting is October 12th, 2022. The governor just signed, I think yesterday or maybe the day before, an extension to the emergency declaration. So meetings can be virtual for another month. So once that ends, if it's not extended again, then we're going to have a discussion about our meetings because they're going to be in person. But as of now, the meetings can continue to be virtual per the governor's emergency declaration. Yes,
I remember the topic, meeting minutes. I want to make sure that we are including detailed public participation. So, because right now we just say so-and-so talked about this, but I want to make sure that we're sharing in the minutes what was said in public participation and giving parents the option to submit a written statement that we would include with our minutes. That was what I would like to discuss at our next meeting.
Yes, Ms. Ford?
Please invite me to that meeting because I could share some insights on meeting minutes.
Perfect. Will do. Thank you.
Shasha, could we talk maybe beforehand too? And just so
sure,
we're all kind of, maybe you and I could connect because I feel so strongly, and then we could have it so that we would have less time and more like, hey guys, what? That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. So that concludes our meeting. I want to thank everyone, staff, parents, Principal Gibson, everyone who joined us for staying here for 3 hours and 45 minutes. I feel it was a very productive meeting. We still have a lot to do and discuss, but thank you. Thank you. I know it was hard, but I mean, I can only say thank you. So having said that, our meeting is adjourned at 9:45 p.m.
We have to vote.
I motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Is there a motion? I motion to adjourn.
Second.
I mean, I'm like, who's second?
I'm dedicated.
I second.
Okay. Don't forget to do your FOIA stuff. That has to be done by the 30th. Your OMA FOIA.
Okay, so let's vote. Ms. Principal Gibson,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Ms. Holbert,
Yes. Losing my
Cindy,
voice.
Yes.
Lori. You're muted.
Yes, please.
Robert,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and it's a yes from me. So the meeting is officially adjourned, 9:45 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.